Hello. The barbecue was supposed to be one of those easygoing Saturday afternoons where I could actually breathe for a while. Our neighbors, Mark and Denise, had invited us over, and honestly, I had been looking forward to it all week. Good food, cold beer, decent folks to talk to. Nothing fancy, just a simple get-together. What I did not expect was for my wife, Linda, to turn the whole thing into my personal firing squad. We were sitting around the patio table with 3 other couples. People had loosened up after a few drinks, and the conversation drifted, like it always does, to marriages and keeping things interesting. Someone cracked a joke about keeping the spark alive. Everybody chuckled, and that was the moment Linda decided she needed to take a swing at me. She leaned back in her chair with that smug grin I had grown to hate, and said, "Well, maybe my husband should take a class on how to satisfy a woman." She stared right at me, her eyes shining like she had just delivered the line of the evening. Lord knows he could use some training. The patio went dead quiet. Even the neighbor's dog 3 houses down seemed to pause for a second. Every face turned toward me, waiting to see how I would take being publicly cut down by the woman who was supposed to be on my side. I took a slow drink of my beer, set the bottle down, and met her eyes without blinking. "You know what, sweetheart? You are absolutely right," I said. "Maybe I really should learn how to satisfy women. Because clearly I have been wasting my time trying to breathe life into something drier than stale toast, and about as responsive as a brick wall." Her smirk disappeared in an instant, replaced by a look of pure shock. A couple of the other wives gasped, and I could see the men trying not to grin into their drinks. But I was not finished. "I mean, you are the expert on satisfaction, right?" I went on. "That is why you spend most nights glued to your phone instead of paying attention to anything going on around you. Maybe I should ask you for advice on how to be completely thrilled with doing absolutely nothing." She opened her mouth to come at me again, but I did not give her the chance. "Actually, maybe we should both sign up for a course," I said. "You could learn how to appreciate what you have before it finally gets tired of being taken for granted." The silence that followed was almost peaceful. She sat there looking stunned, like someone had slapped her across the face. And I guess in a way, I had, just not physically. Our host, Mark, muttered something about needing to check the grill and hurried away like the backyard had suddenly caught fire. "How dare you?" Linda whispered, her voice shaking with rage and embarrassment. "How dare I what?" I asked. "Tell the truth. You wanted to humiliate me in front of everyone. Well, congratulations. You got the attention you were after. Did it feel as good as you hoped?" She shoved her chair back so fast it scraped across the concrete. "We are leaving. Now." "No," I said calmly. "You can go if you want, but I am staying. I was invited here, and for the first time in months, I am actually enjoying myself." The glare she gave me could have melted steel, but instead of shame or guilt, something else washed over me, relief. Like a pipe that had been building pressure for too long had finally burst. Linda grabbed her purse and stormed into the house, probably to call someone to come get her or to hide in the bathroom until I caved. Either way, I could not bring myself to care. One of the other husbands leaned over and murmured, "Man, that was rough." "Sometimes rough is the only language people understand," I said, taking another drink. The rest of the afternoon was honestly enjoyable. Without her hovering over me with sarcastic comments and judgmental looks, I could actually talk to people and laugh without feeling monitored. I stayed until the sun dipped low, helped them clean up, and then drove home by myself. When I walked through the door, Linda was waiting for me in the living room like some kind of prosecutor about to give her closing argument. Arms crossed, foot tapping, face twisted into the expression she saves for when she wants a fight. "Are you out of your mind?" she shouted before I even set my keys down. "How could you embarrass me like that in front of everyone? Do you have any idea what you have done?" I hung my jacket over the chair and looked at her without raising my voice. "I embarrassed you? That is interesting. What exactly did you think you were doing to me out there?" "I was making a joke," she snapped. "No," I said. "You were trying to humiliate me. There is a difference. A joke makes people laugh without hurting anyone. What you did was take a swing at me to make yourself look clever. And you found out what happens when you poke a sleeping bear." She stared at me like she was seeing someone she did not recognize. And maybe she was, because the man who would have apologized and tried to smooth things over was gone. "You made me look like an idiot," she said, her voice rising. "You made yourself look like an idiot," I replied. "I just held up the mirrors so everyone else could see what I have been seeing for the past year." A woman who thinks tearing down her husband in public is perfectly acceptable behavior. That is not what I meant to do, she whispered. That is exactly what you meant, I told her. You have been doing it for months now. Little jabs, little smug comments. Always with that sweet smile so you can pretend you were just being playful. I shook my head. Well, I am done playing. I walked past her toward the stairs, but she grabbed my arm. Where do you think you are going? We are not finished talking about this. I looked down at her hand gripping my arm, then looked her in the eye. Yes, we are. Because for the first time in a long time, I said what I actually meant. And if you do not like the taste of your own medicine, maybe you should stop handing it out like candy. That course she joked about, the one on satisfying women. I found myself thinking maybe the first lesson should be about satisfying my own life, because somewhere along the line I had forgotten how to do that. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm clock for the first time in months. And for once, I felt rested. There was something freeing about finally saying the things I had been swallowing for too long. She was still asleep on her side of the bed, curled up with her back facing me. Normally, I would feel that old push in my chest telling me to fix everything before she woke up. Instead, I slipped out of bed quietly, made a cup of coffee, and sat out on the back porch watching the sun crawl up over the trees. About an hour later, she came downstairs looking like she was gearing up for another round. We need to talk about last night, she said, standing in the doorway with her arms folded tight across her chest. Do we? I asked. I thought I was pretty clear. You cannot talk to me like that, especially not in public. I took a slow sip of coffee and looked at her over the rim of my mug. Funny, you did not seem bothered by that idea when you were talking about me in public. That was different. No, I said. It was the same thing. The only difference is that you are used to being the one taking the shots. She stared at me, waiting for me to apologize like I always did. When she realized it was not coming, she let out a sharp huff and marched back inside. A few seconds later, I heard the kitchen cabinets slamming. That used to be my signal to go in and soothe her, to tell her everything would be fine. This time, I finished my coffee and headed for the shower. The old version of me would have spent the entire day trying to make her feel better, bringing her favorite lunch, suggesting we watch one of her shows, asking what I could do to patch things up. Turns out, the old version of me was a fool. Instead, I did exactly what I wanted. I went to the gym for the first time in 6 months, not because I wanted her approval or because she had made comments about my looks, but because I missed feeling strong. I spent 2 full hours there, and it felt incredible. When I came back home, she was at the kitchen table behind her laptop, probably complaining to her sister or her friends about what a terrible person I was. She looked up as I walked in, sweaty and actually smiling. Where were you? She asked. At the gym. Since when do you go to the gym? She asked, eyebrows shooting up. Since today, I said, thinking about making it a regular habit. She looked at me like I had just announced I was running away to join the circus. Are you having some kind of midlife crisis? No, I said. I am having some kind of clarity. Those are not the same thing. That evening, she tried a different strategy altogether. She cooked dinner, a rare event lately, and even opened a bottle of wine. She was unusually chatty, asking about my day and complimenting how different my mood seemed. You seem different today, she said, rolling the wine around in her glass. More? I do not know, energetic. I feel different, I said. Good different or bad different? She asked, trying her best to read my face. Just different, I said. I have been thinking about what you said yesterday, about taking a course. Her whole expression lit up. She thought she was getting somewhere. Oh, that is good, she said quickly. I know a few therapists who focus on couples. There are also weekend workshops. No, I interrupted. Not that kind of course. I was thinking more about learning things I am actually interested in. Maybe photography. Maybe trying a new language. Something for myself. The brightness in her eyes faded instantly. Oh, that is not what I meant. Oh, I know exactly what you meant, I said. But I decided to take your suggestion in my own direction. Over the next few days, the pattern repeated. She kept trying to push my buttons with her usual little digs and tone, hoping to get the old reaction. But when I did not bite, she got frustrated and pushed harder. You are acting weird, she said on Thursday morning while I was tying my shoes for work. How so? I asked. You are not acting like yourself. Maybe this is who I really am, I said, when I am not constantly walking on eggshells to avoid a fight with you. She did not appreciate that answer one bit. So now I am the problem? She demanded. Everything wrong with our marriage is my fault. I never said everything was your fault, I told her. But you are the one who wanted me to take some course about satisfying women. Well, the first lesson seems pretty simple. You cannot satisfy someone who is committed to being unhappy. That Friday, she tried to pick a fight over the dishwasher. According to her, I had loaded it the wrong way. She then launched into a 10-minute lecture about the proper placement of plates and glasses, as if I were a kid who needed instruction on basic kitchen skills. The old version of me would have apologized and reloaded everything exactly how she wanted. The newer version of me looked her straight in the eye and said, "If you do not like the way I do it, you are welcome to handle it yourself from now on." "That is not the point," she snapped. "No," I said calmly. "That is exactly the point. You want to criticize everything I do? Fine. Then you can be the one doing it." She froze, standing there with a plate in her hand, like she was holding evidence at a crime scene. But you always. "I always what?" I asked. "Let you treat me like hired help? Let you act like I cannot do anything right?" "Yeah. Well, I am taking a break from that job description." By the time the weekend rolled around, she was getting desperate. She tried being overly affectionate, but it felt forced and stiff. When that did not work, she tried picking fights about money, then about my family, then about anything she could dig up. But that week, I learned something important. The minute you stop trying to manage someone else's emotions, you realize how much of your life you wasted doing exactly that. All those years walking on eggshells, trying to figure out her moods, trying to solve problems that were not even real problems. It was exhausting. Sunday night, while we were getting ready for bed, she finally asked the question I had been waiting to hear. "Are you even happy in this marriage?" she said quietly. I actually stopped and thought about it. Really thought about it. "I am starting to be," I said. "What is that supposed to mean?" she demanded. "It means," I said, "that I spent so long trying to make you happy that I forgot what it felt like to take care of my own happiness. Turns out your little course suggestion is helping more than you expected." She climbed into bed and turned off her lamp without another word. But I could feel she was wide awake, trying to figure out how to bring back the version of me she used to control. The trouble for her was simple. That man was gone. He took his final bow last Saturday at a neighborhood barbecue. And honestly, good riddance. 3 weeks into this new approach to life, things really started getting interesting. She had been testing me nonstop, waiting for me to slip. When I did not, she decided to bring in reinforcements. It started on a Tuesday afternoon when her mother called me at work. "I believe you owe my daughter an apology," she announced without even saying hello. "Well, hello to you too," I replied. "And what exactly am I supposed to apologize for?" "For embarrassing her in public," her mother said. "She told me what you said at that barbecue. We are shocked. That is not the man we thought you were." I leaned back in my office chair and almost laughed. "You are right," I said. "The man you thought I was would have sat there and taken it with a smile. That man was an idiot." "Excuse me," she said sharply. "Your daughter has been disrespecting me for months," I said. "And the very first time I stand up for myself, suddenly I am the villain? That is some interesting math you are using." "She was just making a harmless joke," her mother insisted. "There was nothing harmless about it," I said. "But since we are talking about jokes, here is one. Your daughter has not cooked a meal in 3 weeks. She has not done laundry in a month. She contributes absolutely $0 to our household expenses, but somehow she feels qualified to critique my performance in any part of our marriage." Silence. Heavy silence. "Those are private matters between the two of you," she finally managed. "They were private," I said, "until your daughter decided to turn our intimate life into entertainment for a table full of neighbors. So if she wants things public, fine. Let us keep them public." I could almost feel her mother's jaw hanging open through the phone. "You cannot talk about my daughter that way." "I can talk about your daughter the same way she talks about me," I replied. "Fair is fair." Then I hung up the phone, and I felt that same wave of satisfaction I had felt at the barbecue. Telling the truth was like oxygen. When I got home that evening, my wife was standing there waiting for me, fire practically shooting from her eyes. "My mother called me in tears because of what you said to her," she yelled. "Good," I said calmly. "Maybe now she knows how I felt when you tried to humiliate me in front of our friends." "You had no right to bring our private issues up with her," she snapped. I set my keys down and looked at her with a raised eyebrow. "Our private issues?" I asked. "You mean the same private issues you shared with the whole table last Saturday? Or are you talking about different private issues now?" That is not the same thing, she said. You are absolutely right, I told her. It is not the same thing. When you shared our private issues, it was to make fun of me. When I shared them, it was simply to tell the truth. She started pacing the kitchen, which was always the signal that things were about to get loud. You made me sound like some lazy housewife who does not do anything around here, she said. I did not make you sound like anything, I replied. I described your actual behavior. If you do not like how it sounds out loud, then maybe change the behavior instead of attacking the person pointing it out. I do plenty around here, she snapped. Then name 3 things you have done this week to help our home run. She froze, staring at me like a deer in headlights. I do not have to justify my contributions to you, she said. You just proved my point, I told her. You cannot name 3 things because there are not 3 things. Yet somehow, you feel qualified to give me performance reviews. The fight dragged on for another hour, but it did not feel like our usual fights. Normally, I would have scrambled to calm her down, trying to find middle ground, trying to make her feel better. This time, I simply stuck to the facts. And facts are hard to argue with, no matter how loud the shouting gets. The next week, her sister showed up unannounced. Clearly, she had been sent on a mission. I hear you two are going through something, she said as we sat at the table with coffee. She gave me that sympathetic look that women seem to master before they hit their teenage years. We are not going through something, I said. We are finding clarity. That is an interesting way to put it, she said. She told me you have been very harsh with her. Define harsh, I said. Well, she continued carefully. Apparently you told her mother some very personal details about your marriage. I nodded. I did. Right after her mother called my office to lecture me about embarrassing her precious daughter. Funny how that part did not make it into the version you heard. Her sister shifted in her seat. Look, I know she can be difficult sometimes, but she loves you. Does she? I asked. Because people who love someone do not usually try to humiliate them in front of strangers. She did not mean it that way, her sister said softly. And I am sure she did not mean for me to respond the way I did. But here we are. Maybe you two should try couples therapy, she suggested. I almost spit out my coffee. Therapy? So I can pay someone to explain why I need to be more understanding about my wife insulting me in public? No thank you. Marriage is about compromise, she insisted. You are absolutely right, I said. It is about compromise. I have been compromising for years. I compromise where we eat, where we travel, what shows we watch, how we use our money, and apparently how much disrespect I am expected to absorb. She does not compromise on anything. So maybe it is time she learns the meaning of that word. That weekend, we had another family gathering, her cousin's birthday party. I could see the fear in her eyes when she realized we would be around the same people who witnessed the barbecue incident. Please do not embarrass me again, she said quietly while we were getting ready. I will not embarrass you, I said, but I will not let you embarrass me either. Treat me with basic respect, and everything will be fine. The party was interesting. People were watching us the way folks watch a car on an icy road, waiting to see if it is going to slide into a ditch. She was unusually sweet and attentive, but I could recognize the effort behind it. During dinner, one of her friends commented, "It is nice to see you two working through your problems." What problems? I asked, perfectly calm. Well, after last time, she said delicately. You mean after she tried to take a shot at me and I responded? That was not a problem. That was a solution. My wife went pale, but I simply smiled and took another bite. I have been learning a lot about satisfaction lately, I added. Turns out the key to being satisfied is refusing to live your life unsatisfied. Revolutionary idea, really. The table went silent again, but this time the silence felt like a warm blanket. I enjoyed every second of it. She had wanted me to take a course. Well, this was lesson 1. Respect yourself enough to demand respect from others. Judging by the look on her face, she was understanding the lesson loud and clear. By the 4th week, I had stopped doing things for her entirely. Not out of anger, not to punish her, just basic logic. Why would I spend energy trying to please someone who clearly did not value the effort? It started small. I stopped making her morning coffee. When she asked why, I told her I was busy making mine. But you always make mine too, she said, standing there in her pajamas, genuinely confused. I used to do a lot of things, I said. Then you made it clear those things were not good enough. So now I am spending that energy on somebody who appreciates it, me. She looked at me as if I were speaking another language entirely. Next came the grocery shopping. For years, I handled the weekly shopping. I knew all her favorite brands, remembered every preference, even picked up little snacks she enjoyed. The first week I stopped, she did not notice. The second week, she finally asked, "Where is my favorite yogurt?" I did not buy it, I said. "Why not?" "Because I do not eat it," I said. I bought what I needed. When she finally asked, "But what about what I need?" I looked at her calmly. "What about it? You are a grown woman with a car, a driver's license, and a credit card. If you need something, you can get it yourself." The shock on her face was almost cartoonish. "But you always handle the shopping," she said quietly. "I handle my shopping," I said. "If you want someone to handle yours, either hire a personal assistant or learn how to do it like every other adult." Laundry was the moment everything truly shifted. For years, I had done our laundry together out of habit, not because she ever helped. One day, it hit me. I was washing, drying, folding, and putting away her clothes while she contributed absolutely nothing. So I made a decision. From then on, I washed only my clothes. She discovered the change when she opened her dresser and found an empty drawer. "Did you forget to do laundry this week?" she asked, holding the drawer like it was some tragic evidence. "No," I said. "I did my laundry." "Your laundry is exactly where you left it." "What do you mean my laundry?" she asked. "I mean the clothes that belong to you," I said. "I wash my things. Yours are still dirty." "But we always do laundry together," she insisted. "We never did it together," I said. "I did the laundry. You benefited from it. There is a difference." She stood there clutching that empty drawer as if I had just betrayed some ancient agreement. "So now I have to do my own laundry?" she asked. "Wild idea, I know," I said. "A full-grown adult taking care of their own basic needs." "This is ridiculous," she said. "You are being petty." "I am being practical," I replied. "You wanted me to learn about satisfying women. Well, lesson 1 is understanding that you cannot satisfy someone determined to stay unhappy." Cooking was where things really took an interesting turn. Most nights, I made dinner for both of us, usually whatever she preferred. Many times, I ate things I did not even like just because it kept the peace. Then one Tuesday, I made a steak dinner just for myself. She came home and found me at the table eating alone. "Where is my dinner?" she asked. I shrugged. "I have no idea." "Where did you leave it?" "What is that supposed to mean?" she snapped. "Did you not cook for both of us?" "No," I said. "I cooked for myself. I was hungry, so I made food." "What am I supposed to eat?" she asked. I gestured toward the kitchen. "Whatever you want. The kitchen is right there. Everything you need is in it." She stared at me for a full minute while I cut another bite of steak. "I cannot believe you are doing this," she said. "Doing what?" I asked. "Feeding myself?" "Yeah, it has been an educational experience." "You are punishing me," she said, voice trembling. "I am not punishing you," I said calmly. "I'm just done taking care of you. There is a difference. You made it clear that my efforts were not appreciated. So now I am putting that effort into someone who actually values it, myself." "This is insane," she said. "We are married. We are supposed to take care of each other." I set my fork down and looked her straight in the eye. "You are absolutely right. We are supposed to take care of each other. So tell me, when was the last time you took care of me?" A long silence stretched between us. "I take care of you all the time," she muttered, but even she did not sound convinced. "Really?" I asked. "Name one thing you have done for me this month. Just one. Something that helped me, not you." She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. Nothing came out. "That is what I thought," I said. Over the next few days, reality started hitting her from all sides. She had to buy her own groceries, which meant actually going to the store and making real decisions. She had to do her own laundry, which meant learning the difference between cycles and temperatures. She had to cook her own meals, which meant planning ahead instead of assuming dinner would magically appear. Watching her stumble through these basic tasks was like watching someone try to learn how to walk. She called me at work asking, "How long do you cook chicken?" She texted me asking, "What temperature should the washing machine be on?" Each time, I sent the same answer. "I thought you were perfectly capable of handling everything yourself. I am sure you will figure it out." The breaking point came Friday night. She had tried to make dinner and somehow burned pasta, actual pasta. The house smelled like someone lit a glue factory on fire. "I need help," she said when I walked through the door. "With what?" I asked. "With everything," she snapped. "This is ridiculous. I cannot function like this." "Funny," I said. "I have been functioning like this for years. The only difference is that I was also functioning for you." "That is different," she insisted. How? I asked. Because you are good at this stuff, she finally said. I am good at it because I learned, I said. You could learn too. You just have to want to. I do not want to learn, she said. I want things to go back to normal. Normal, I said, was me doing everything while you criticized me. I prefer the new setup. That was when she broke down crying. Normally, that would have been my cue to rush in and fix everything. But normally was gone. Please, she said through tears. I am sorry for what I said at the barbecue. I did not mean it. Can we please go back to how things were? No, I said simply. Because now I know what I was missing. What were you missing? She whispered. Self-respect, I said. Turns out it is pretty satisfying. Who would have guessed? And that was when the intervention happened. On a Sunday. One Sunday afternoon, I came home from the gym covered in sweat and feeling good, only to find her entire family planted in my living room like some kind of judgment panel. Her mother, her father, her sister, and even her brother who lived 3 states away were sitting there stiff as statues. Her father spoke first. We need to talk. Do we? I said as I kicked off my shoes. Because as far as I remember, this is my house, and I do not recall inviting a single person here. Her mother wasted no time. We are worried about how you have been treating our daughter. I looked around at their grim faces and honestly had to stop myself from laughing. Let me guess, I said. She called you all here so you could gang up on me, because she cannot handle being treated exactly the way she treats other people. That is not what this is about, her sister insisted. Really? I said. Then what is it about? Her brother leaned forward, trying to look reasonable. Look, man, we get that marriage is hard. But you cannot just stop being a husband because you had one argument. One argument, I repeated, raising my eyebrows. Is that what she told you? I sat down in my own chair, leaned back, and looked each of them in the eye. Did she tell you that this entire thing started because she tried to humiliate me in front of our neighbors? Or did she skip that part? Your reaction was completely unnecessary, her mother said. She made a harmless joke. A harmless joke? I asked. She told a table full of people that I needed to take a course on satisfying women because I was so terrible at it. In front of 6 people. But when I pointed out that she has not satisfied anyone in this house in months, suddenly, I am the villain. For the first time all afternoon, the room went completely still. Her father cleared his throat. Maybe you two need some space. Maybe time apart would help. We have plenty of space, I said. The problem is not space. The problem is that your daughter expects to be treated like royalty while treating me like I am the hired help. That is not true, she finally said, speaking up from the corner where she had been sitting silently. Is it not? I asked. When was the last time you cooked a meal? Cleaned anything? Contributed a single dollar to our expenses? When was the last time you did anything that did not revolve around your own wants? Her whole family shifted uncomfortably. Their expressions were changing as the actual facts started sinking in. Those are just chores, her sister said weakly. Those are adult responsibilities, I replied. Responsibilities I've been carrying alone, while she criticizes how I do every single thing. Her mother tried a softer angle. But you love her. Marriage is about supporting one another. You are right, I said. It is about support. So where was my support when she decided to embarrass me publicly? Where is my support when I work all day and come home to make dinner for the 2 of us while she watches television? I stood and looked straight at my wife. You brought your family here to pressure me into going back to being your personal servant. But here is what is going to happen instead. She swallowed hard. You are going to tell them exactly what you said at that barbecue. Word for word. I do not need to. Yes, you do, I cut in. Tell them what you said about me needing to take a course in satisfying women. She looked at their expectant faces like she was trapped underwater. Tell them, I continued, how much money you have contributed to our household this year. Tell them about all the meals you have cooked. Tell them about the last time you did something kind for me without being asked. Stop, she whispered. No, I said. Tell them about the last time you thanked me for anything. Her father stood up. I think it is best if we give them some space. That is probably the smartest idea I have heard all day, I said. Because this is between me and the woman who thought it would be funny to question my adequacy as a husband in public. And now she is shocked to discover that people who are disrespected eventually stop trying to earn respect. One by one, her family filed out the door. Not a single one of them looked me in the eye. At the doorway, her mother paused. I hope you two can forgive each other, she said gently. I already have, I replied. I have forgiven her for taking me for granted. I have forgiven her for the disrespect. I have even forgiven her for trying to manipulate me with this little intervention. But forgiving does not mean forgetting. After they left, she sat on the couch crying. How could you embarrass me like that in front of my family? She said through tears. The same way you embarrassed me in front of our friends, I replied. The only difference is that everything I said was true. They think I am a terrible wife now, she said. Are you? I asked. She looked up, tears streaming down her face. That is not fair. Nothing about this situation has been fair, I said. But it has certainly been eye-opening. She stared at me, waiting. I have learned that I do not need to satisfy someone who refuses to be satisfied, I said. I have learned that respect cannot be demanded, it has to be earned. And I have learned that the course you wanted me to take? I have been teaching it to myself for a month now. What course? She asked quietly. The course on how to satisfy myself, I said. Turns out it is a whole lot easier than trying to satisfy someone who will not return the favor. 2 months after the barbecue incident, she finally asked the question I had been waiting to hear. I was sitting on the couch reading, actually relaxed for the first time in what felt like years. She stood there, wringing her hands. What do you want from me? She asked. For weeks she had cycled through every tactic she knew. Anger, tears, guilt, cold shoulders, dramatic sighs. And I had stayed completely steady through all of it, refusing to let myself get sucked into any of her old patterns. Nothing, I said, not even looking up from my book. Nothing? That is impossible. Everybody wants something. I set the book down and looked at her, really looked at her. She looked worn down, tired, overwhelmed, the natural result of suddenly having to do for herself what I had been doing for years. You are right, I said. I do want something. I want respect. I want appreciation. I want a partner who contributes as much as they take. But I have realized that I cannot expect those things from you anymore. Why not? She asked, brows drawn together. Because you have shown me that you are not capable of giving them, I said. So I adjusted my expectations. She slowly sat down on the edge of the coffee table, staring at me. What if I changed? She asked. What if I started doing more? What if I stopped making comments? Then you would be doing what you should have been doing all along, I said. But you would be doing it because you got caught, not because you genuinely respect me. That is not true, she whispered. Is it not? I asked. If I had not stood up for myself at that barbecue, would you have suddenly appreciated me? Would you have stopped taking me for granted? She sat in silence for a solid minute. Probably not, she admitted quietly. Exactly, I said. So this is not about real change. It is about damage control. But people can change, she said quickly. Marriages can get better. They can, I said. But both people have to want that, and they have to want it for the right reasons. Her eyes filled again, but this time her tears looked different, less like manipulation, more like someone finally seeing the truth. I do not want to lose you, she said. You lost me, I said softly. The moment you decided it was acceptable to humiliate me in front of other people. Everything after that has been me learning how to live with that reality. So that is it, she asked, voice trembling. You are just done? After everything we have been through? I am not done, I said. I am satisfied. For the first time in years, I actually feel satisfied with my life. How can you be satisfied when our marriage is falling apart? She asked. Because I finally understand the difference between being a partner, I said, and being someone's unpaid employee. I spent years trying to make you happy, and you spent years telling me I was not good enough at it. So I stopped trying. But you said you were taking a course, she said. You said you learned something. I did, I said. The most important course I will probably ever take. I learned that you cannot satisfy someone who refuses to be satisfied. I learned that respect is not a negotiation. And I learned that my happiness has nothing to do with your approval. She wiped her face. So what does that mean for us? It means I am not going back to being the man who tolerates disrespect because he is afraid of being alone, I said. If you want a marriage, you need to offer something worth being married to. I can do that, she said quickly. I can be better. Maybe you can, I said. But I am not hanging my life on promises. I am not waiting around for you to maybe become someone new. She looked down. So what now? Now, I said, you decide what kind of person you want to be. Do you want to be someone who earns respect and gives it in return? Or do you want to stay the person who expects what they refuse to give? And if I choose wrong, she whispered, then you will get a taste of that course on satisfying women by yourself, I said. Because you will have plenty of time to think about what you could have done differently. She stood up slowly, like the weight of every careless comment she had made over the past few years was stuck on her shoulders. You really meant it, she said softly. When you said you learned to satisfy yourself completely. Sure did, I said. When you stop trying to please someone who cannot be pleased, you have a lot more time and energy for things that actually matter. Like what? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Like self-respect, I said. Like boundaries. Like refusing to tolerate behavior just because it is coming from someone you care about. She started toward the stairs, paused halfway, then turned back. That thing you said at the barbecue, she said. About me being as dry as toast, did you really mean that? I closed my book, smiled, and nodded. I meant every single word. Her face tightened, but she did not argue. But here is the beauty, I continued. I learned something in that course you sarcastically recommended. It does not matter what you are or what you are not. What matters is what I am willing to accept. And you are not willing to accept me anymore, she said softly. I am not willing to accept disrespect anymore, I corrected. If you can figure out the difference, then maybe we can talk. If not, well, you wanted me to learn something new. Mission accomplished. She walked upstairs quietly, and I opened my book again. The course she jokingly insisted I take ended up teaching me everything I needed to know. Sometimes the best way to satisfy women is to start by satisfying yourself. And sometimes, the most satisfying thing a man can do is simply refuse to live an unsatisfied life. Bye.